One thing I always hear with the Doctrine and Covenants is that it's hard to find Christ in the Doctrine and Covenants because we're so focused on church history and the stories. But what I would actually suggest is that there's actually no better place to come to know him. These are his words responding to specific situations, and this week is such a good example of this. We will not have to wonder how he feels. He will tell us how he feels. So for example, in section 3, this is when Joseph and Martin have lost the manuscript. So they're in a really low place, and the Lord comes in and gives this revelation in section 3, and it's just perfect. He will tell you exactly how he feels, what he wants them to know. He teaches about himself, and he gives them the guidance that they need. So as you go into this, ask yourself, what am I learning here about the Lord that maybe I haven't noticed before? And also, watch how he corrects and guides Joseph and Martin in this really hard situation. I especially love how he starts the section. And same with section 4. Section 4 is actually given to Joseph Smith's father. He traveled up to Harmony, where Joseph and Emma were living, and he wanted to know what the Lord would have him do. Section 4 was then given, and Joseph Smith Sr. was called to the work, but he's not being called on a mission, which is interesting because we often call Section 4 the missionary section, but it wasn't given when a missionary was being called. It was just given to somebody who wanted to serve the Lord. So as you read this section, notice who he's calling, notice what he promises, notice what he wants you to know and feel. And then section 5. So we're studying 3 through 5 this week. And this is almost a year after section 3 is given. And Joseph has received the plates back. He's resumed translating, but it's hard and it's slow. And Martin is facing a storm at home with his wife. And Martin desired a greater witness. Go into these verses. Notice how well the Lord knows Joseph and Martin. So every week I've been giving a study or teaching tip. And this week, my tip is just to go into these verses and see what you learn about Christ as you study his words. What does he point out? What does he want you to know about what he can do with his servants? What does he want you to know about his work that is happening? What does he want you to know about him? One thing you could do is with a notebook or a journal is just to have a page where every time you learn something about him, you just jot it down. But in the Doctrine and Covenants, he will introduce himself certain ways. He'll give himself certain names at certain times. He will point out things that will give you so much faith and hope in him.